Oh boy, hello. Let's see, I decided to come out today and try my hand at a little bit of woodland photography today. I wanted just a little bit more variety. But as usual, when you're dealing with woodland photography, you're constantly struggling, trying to single something out and find a decent composition. And for me, today is no different. So what I've done is I've come out to an area which is also pretty close to where I live, and I've decided to venture out and see what I can find. It's an area that I actually have never been to before, so hopefully there'll be some decent possibilities here, and I can find something worth photographing. It seems to be a pretty good wooded area. It looks pretty well untouched. Obviously not too many people come here, so I'm going to scout around a bit, and hopefully I can come up with something decent. Okay. I've located my first composition, and as you can see, if you look right behind me, you can see there are 3 trees here, the remnants of 3 trees. 1, 2, 3 that are basically kind of fanning out. All right, there's also 1 tree directly in the middle of the 2 forks here. I came across this and I thought it might make a reasonably good composition. So what I've done is I've already framed up the image, and I'm going to take this and see exactly what I can come up with. All right, I'm using a polarizing filter because if you look in the background, there are some highlights in the background, and I'd like to kind of control those. So I'm using a polarizing filter for that. And also, since this is woodland photography and we have a lot of greenery in the area, I'd like to try and get that under control as much, or actually saturate that as much as possible by removing the glare. So I'm all set up. And actually, right now, we're getting a little bit of side lighting coming through. It's actually illuminating the sides of the trees. So I'm going to go ahead and take this shot. I'm actually focused for the remnant of the tree right in the center of the fork. So let's go ahead and take this shot and see what comes up. All right, I'm at f-stop 11, ISO 100, and about 1 1/3 of a second. Mirror lockup. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this and see what we've got here. All right, that looks good. I'll probably take 1 or 2 more shots from slightly different angles and perhaps a different orientation, perhaps a portrait orientation, and see what comes up. Actually, I've noticed we're getting a breeze here, and some of the vines that are hanging are shaking just a bit in the wind. I may wait a little bit later until that stops completely and then take 1 more shot. Okay, I think I've located my next composition here. If you look right behind me, we're getting some side lighting from the sun on these trees right here. And right now I'm just waiting for the right moment to take the exposure. Actually, the light is getting good now. I have my composition set up. I'm actually going to take 2 shots. I'm going to take 1 shot for the foreground and then 1 shot for the highlights. And then I will blend those images together later in post. All right, I've got the shot set up now. I'm going to take several of them because the light is constantly changing. I'm still using mirror lockup. All right, there's one. That shot was actually for the shadows. And then I'll take one for the highlights. All right, the settings are 1/3 of a second at f-stop 8, ISO 100. Well, I'm going to wait just a second. The wind just came through and the leaves are blowing on the trees. I'll just give it a second to die down before I make the exposure. All right, that looks good there. Okay. Zoom in here at 100% and see what I've got. All right, nice and sharp. Excellent. Okay, at this point I've got 2 shots in the bag. I'm going to scout around just a little bit more and hopefully I can come up with a couple other images. Being that I'm in this wooded area, even though the sun is still pretty high to the horizon, obviously the light is beginning to drop off. The light's constantly changing all around me. So what I'm going to do is perhaps try and find an area that's a little less densely populated by the trees, so I can get a little bit more light coming through, and that should create some nice photographic opportunities. Hopefully I can get 1 or 2 more before I pack it up. Okay, I found 1 more composition as I was working my way back to the car. And as you can see behind me, there's a fallen tree that's actually stretching across the frame itself. I thought this was pretty interesting. There's a nice contrast between the greenery and the color of the wood on the tree itself. Okay, I'm still using a polarizing filter so that I can remove any glare from the foliage, which will enhance the color greatly. Also, my settings are 2 seconds at f-stop 11, ISO 100. And as usual, I'm using a cable release to minimize any camera movement whatsoever. All right, so let's get this last shot in the bag here. I have my composition set up already. Okay. I'll just make a slight adjustment here. Give it just a little bit more exposure. There we are. Now we're about 3 seconds at f-stop 11, ISO 100. The light's changed slightly. Mirror lockup. All right. Now let's check it out. I'll zoom in at 100%. And check the clarity of the image. Beautiful. Absolutely razor sharp. By the way, I'm using the Nikon D750, and actually this particular camera is my favorite camera for use with woodland photography. This particular camera with its sensor, in combination with the Nikon 16 to 35 millimeter f-stop 4, gives me exceptional quality in the fine details in the leaves and in the wood itself. I own several others. I have the Nikon D800, the Nikon D810 as well, but for woodland photography, where fine detail is really important. This is actually the camera that I use. Even though this is a 24 megapixel camera and the 800 and the 810 are 36, this is still my preference. So hopefully I can find something else on the way back. Okay, the sun's actually taken a pretty good turn for the worst as far as how bright it is. But anyway, what I decided to do, I decided to try and get one last shot. In my previous couple of videos, I did a segment on ICM, or intentional camera movement. So based on the surroundings that I have here, I think I have a possibility of getting some reasonably decent images. So I'm going to take a few ICM images before I head out, and I think that'll pretty much be it. All right, I'm using a 2-second exposure here. I'm actually auto-focusing. 2 seconds, f-stop 8, ISO 11. All right. Okay, well, I guess that's probably it for today. I think it's been relatively productive, and I think I got a few decent images. So, as always, if you've picked up anything from these videos and you've enjoyed them, please don't hesitate to comment, like, and please subscribe. Okay, until next time.